Alrighty. Who here had a great Easter on Sunday? Yeah. Who is like sick of eating chocolate yet? I definitely am. I ate way too much of my son's candy. Even though I say it's his, it's really mine. But also, this weather's not been too bad except today it rained. But I couldn't tell if I should wear a vest or short sleeves. I think we're all kind of in that same boat with saw Brody with shorts and a t-shirt on. But I couldn't tell what kind of weather it was outside. But spring is in the air, and it's nice to get that going. We got the April showers, but we're gonna have May flowers, so it's fine. But the next season that I'm really excited about is summer because of one thing that we just saw right there, and that is camp. Who here is excited about camp? Yeah, that is, in case you're new. Oh, speaking of which, let's start off with, do we have any new people in the house? Woo! We got a couple new people here. It's important for us middle schoolers because we have a challenge, boys versus girls, so we're trying to make some friends, bring them out. But welcome everyone who is new, and remember to tell your friends about this place because this place is awesome. We're here to have fun and share stuff with each other. So having said that, summer camp, it is June 23rd through the 26th. That is Wednesday through Saturday. We already have like our activities planned, so if you guys haven't heard, Josh has mentioned a couple of those, like a giant slip and slide, water slide thing. We're doing like a citywide scavenger hunt. We got some really, really cool stuff going on. So make sure you have your $50 deposit by May 30th. May 30th. If anything, yay, $50. Make sure your grandmas are writing you checks. You're asking for extra lunch money. Gather that money up so we can make sure to get your spot. There's a sign-up sheet as well. So please, if you plan on going, put your name on there. I think it's name, phone number, and email if I'm not mistaken. But it's $150 for the entire week of camp, which is crazy awesome. So I'm excited about that part actually. But so guys, we really look forward to seeing you there. But we also look forward to seeing you guys here every week. So thank you so much for coming. And without anything else said, let's get this thing started.
Hey guys, welcome back.
There
Go
you
ahead
are.
and stand up for worship. You guys can go ahead and stand up.
I close my eyes and colors fly. There's no hiding from your grace. I can't deny your heart for mine, and it's unrelenting chase. I was on the edge of deception, caught up in my own hesitation, until your love took over me. Oh, so I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I find freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. When I let go, then I find life. When I let go, then I find life. La 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 life. When I let go, then I find life. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I find life. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I find life.
All right, guys, we've got a new song for you. I hope you enjoy it. Beginning to the end,
guys for being amazing. Man, we are just going to pray real quick before we begin service. God, I want to thank you for getting us here tonight. I want to thank you for all these students who came in the room to desire you, God. God, I want to thank you for the people who are willing to learn more about you, God. I thank you for loving us no matter what, even when we've run away from you, even when we've hid. God, thank you for pursuing us. Thank you for loving us no matter what we've done, no matter how far we've run, God. You love us endlessly. God, it's in your name we pray. Amen. You may be seated. How are you guys doing tonight? Hey, we are super hyped you guys are here. If this is your first time here, I just wanted to say, hey, my name is Josh. I'm the student pastor here at Eastside Church. And we as a family, we as a group of friends, man, we are super hyped you decided to join us tonight. We are in this series, Afterlife, and as we wrap it up tonight, I'm so excited for you to hear what God is going to bring. And I pray tonight that this is the most important message that you could hear for this whole entire year. I pray that you take this away. If you have notes, bring them out. Hey, if you're viewing online, we're so thankful you decided to join us tonight. Thank you for being a part of this night, whether you're in your living room, bedroom, whether you're in the bathtub. Uh-oh, that's weird. Okay, but hey, we're glad you're here. Don't drop your laptop in the water because you could get electrocuted. But man, we are in this series and I am so excited. But first, I got to tell you a story. I was telling Matthew Gilly this earlier that I have a story of something that, look, I haven't always been perfect, okay? I haven't always done the right thing. Y'all are like, yeah, we know, Josh, like every single week you ain't doing the right thing. I have a story that I need you to follow with me because I need to take you guys all the way back to when I was in high school. That was forever ago. Josh, you're like 80 years old. You know, there was some dude last week who thought that I was like in my 30s. No offense to people in their 30s or anything, but bro, that was like the first moment where I was like, oh, I'm no longer a child anymore. I'm not in my 30s though, thankfully. Again, no offense to anybody in their 30s. But yo, so we're going to go back all the way. If y'all can, just like for a moment, just let's hit rewind. We're going back to when I was in high school, when Joshy was skinnier, when Joshy had long hair, when Joshy was driving a blue Dodge Ram pickup truck. Now that is key. Remember that to this story, because as we go all the way back, and I'm kind of scared right now to share this story because if there's people viewing online and people from my high school know me, they know exactly who I'm talking about. So I am not going to mention last names, even though they know who I'm talking about. But when we go all the way back to high school for me, I had a group of friends that I would hang out with. I'd often get in trouble with this group of friends, like some of you middle school girls do, breaking signs, okay? So anyway, here I am in high school. I got a group of friends. I'm driving a blue Dodge Ram pickup truck. That is important. Remember that to this story. And one night we decide that we're going to go prank this girl, Rachel. Rachel, you know who you are. Rachel, everybody from my high school knows who Rachel is. And I feel kind of bad about this now, but we decided that as a group of guys, we needed something to do every Friday night. And we decided every Friday night we're going to join up at my house. My mom and dad don't even know this story, so now they're like, oh, now we're culprits of this crime. We decided that we're going to prank Rachel's house every single night. Now, we all get together and we're all spitting ideas. Some of them, sometimes we maybe stole some picnic tables from an elementary school, put them in the back of the blue Dodge Ram pickup truck, drove over to her house, dropped off like 10 or 12 different picnic tables. She wakes up, opens up her window, and boom, there's a bunch of picnic tables in her yard. We may have done cones, we may have done all these things. The problem with pattern in pranks is that they pick up on them real quick. Because one night we pull up to her house, we get out of the car, we're creeping over and we see her on the phone with the cops, and we're like, oh no. So we do this like backwards thing. We hop in the car, and I swear I burn out so hard in my blue Dodge Ram pickup truck. Here's the problem to this story. There's always a problem to a story. There's always something that you're like, oh, I should have mentioned this. My girlfriend at the time is best friends with Rachel, okay? So New Year's Eve is happening, and I'm invited to Rachel Downing's house on New Year's Eve with my girlfriend, okay? So we go, and y'all are like, yo, only Josh could get himself into this mix, right? I show up to her house. It's me, my girlfriend, Rachel, and her boyfriend. That's it. We go in, I was like, yo, this is kind of a lame party, not gonna lie, like normal Friday nights, we're here at your house doing something totally different. It's lame in here. And so we're talking, we're hanging out, we're having good conversations, whatever, and then Rachel decides to open up. And she's like, man, I just gotta get this off my chest. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's up? I'm like lying through my teeth. I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, how are you? What's going on? She's like, man, there's this truck that shows up to our house every Friday night and they prank us. This is the moment that I thought I was captured. I thought she was about to say, the FBI is outside. You have 30 seconds to get out. And I'm thinking I'm done for, right? As she puts me on the spot, she is like, man, there are people who are here every Friday night pranking my house. And you know what? What's crazy is it's a black pickup truck. And I was like, in that moment, like, here's my way out. I was like, you know what? Rachel, you're right. Amanda Middleton, I just said her name out loud. Amanda Middleton and all her posse, they hate your guts. I could see them doing something like this because you know what she drives? She drives a black Dodge Ram pickup truck, same size, same year, same everything, just the color's different. And Amanda, I'm sorry if you're watching this. I'm really sorry. Please, nobody who I'm friends with share this with Amanda. But there was a moment that I had to throw somebody under the bus. I had to get it off my chest. I couldn't tell her it was me, and so I threw Amanda under the bus. The problem with this story, it's kind of a funny story, but what's funny later is I am filled with guilt. I feel guilty about this thing. I totally threw Amanda, who had nothing against Rachel. She had nothing against Rachel and wouldn't hold anything against her, and I threw her under the bus. Because when the pressure was on, I began to flee. When I began to feel guilt, I began to hide. And I want to ask this tonight, how many of you in the room have ever felt guilty? When was the last time y'all felt guilty? You're like, no, Josh, I don't want to have this conversation because I know I feel guilty about that thing I did last night. Man, I feel guilty about that thing that I said to that person I threw under the bus. Man, some of y'all in the room, maybe you didn't tell your girl the whole story. You know what I'm saying? You told her like a part of the story, but you didn't tell her the whole story about what happened. Like you saw Samantha there, and you didn't listen, you think Samantha's cute and all. You told her the story, but you didn't tell her the whole story. You know what I'm saying? Man, maybe you told your stepmom that you're going out to this place, and you did go to that place, but with the people that she doesn't want you to go with, you know? And you're now stretching the truth. You're now lying to her because you're feeling guilty for the thing that you did. Maybe you said you were studying all night, but instead you were just binging Julie and the Phantoms just all night. That's just what you were watching. Maybe some of you have lied to your best friend about what happened with her boyfriend. You thought he was cute. You didn't mean it to happen, but it happened. These things happen, right? And you stretch the truth. Josh is talking about things that I feel uncomfortable about. But there's all sorts of things that we begin to feel guilty about. I don't know what it is for you tonight, but maybe tonight you walked in here with some guilt. Maybe you walked in here with some shame. Maybe you felt like the things that you've done haven't been good enough for the people around you. Because when we feel guilty, we are so good at hiding it. I mean, how many of y'all in the room have ever tried to hide something from the people around you because you felt guilty? Because when we feel guilty, we are so good at hiding it. We avoid telling people what's going on. We avoid telling people what's really going on, what really happened, how you're really doing. You see, when a conversation gets real, we back out real fast. You see, we avoid trying to tell people what's going on, so when the conversation gets real, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to have that conversation with my friends. I don't want to talk to my family about that. I don't want to tell my coworker what happened. I don't need my coach to find that out. I don't need my small group to know what I'm dealing with. I don't want even God to know what I'm dealing with. Because when we feel guilty, we begin to avoid telling people what's really going on. You see, no matter what guilt looks like for you, we all tend to let our guilt get in the way of our faith with God. You see, I don't care who you are in the room tonight, you have may felt guilty before, and we've allowed it to ruin relationships. We've allowed ourselves to grow distant from real conversations because we don't want to be real about it. Because the guilt is telling us to quiet down. Don't tell them that thing that's going on. Don't say that thing that you did. You can't tell your small group that. You need to quiet down because of the guilt that you're carrying. Now, thankfully, tonight, we're talking about somebody who has done something very similar. Thankfully, tonight, we're not the only ones. You may have walked in here tonight. You're not the only person who's dealing with guilt. Baby, don't you worry. You're not the only one who's dealing with this shame, this pain, this guilt that you carry. Because tonight we're going to look at somebody that even a person in the Bible. What? Somebody in the Bible? Like, aren't they supposed to be like holy and like art thou and everything? Like, aren't they supposed to be great? But even there are people in the Bible who have struggled with executing a perfect plan. Even people in the Bible have made countless upon countless mistakes. You see, we're in this series Afterlife, where we're talking about the death, the burial, and the resurrection. This Sunday, we were able to celebrate the historic thing that Jesus did for us on the cross as he died on Friday and was rose to life on Sunday. We celebrate that. As a Christianity culture, we love this. This is one of our favorite times of the year because it's something that miraculously changed how we live our life forever. And while we're all excited about the resurrection, while we're all celebrating Jesus' return, there's one guy who's not so thrilled about it. There's one guy who's like, Jesus, could you have not waited a few more days? I got some stuff to work on, you know what I'm saying? There are some people in the room tonight, y'all feel like, man, I want to get right with God, but I feel like I need to work on myself a little bit more. I feel like I need to sharpen myself up. I feel like I need to hide the things that are going on. Once I get them fixed, then I'll work with God. Then I'll talk to God. Then I'll have that conversation with God. And there is this guy who's having the same thing go on in his brain. And this guy's name is Peter. Peter is one of those guys who was also a follower of Jesus. What I think is interesting about Peter is Peter's one of Jesus's loud friends. Do you know what I mean by a loud friend? He's the guy, he's like the big talker, small walker. He's the guy, he's like, he wants everybody to know who he rolling up with. He wants everybody to know Jesus is his guy. Jesus is his boy. He wants everybody to know this is my squad. This is my crew. This is who I roll up with. And a lot of times Peter can get a little too intense for me personally. Like a little, kind of sometimes I'm like, Peter, hey, tone it, hey, that's aggressive. Because what happens is the night that Jesus is arrested, Peter, man, he's arresting one of his boys. Come on now, you can't be doing that. Peter gets a little worked up. Some of the guys are they're communicating with one another. They're yelling, they're chanting. And Peter pulls out a sword and cuts off a dude's ear who's trying to arrest Jesus. And while everybody is yelling and screaming and the room is getting loud, there's a moment where I think that Jesus is sitting in the background sighing really loudly. As he cuts this dude's ear off, he's looking at Peter and just going, oh, Peter. remember like that thing that like I've lived my whole life up until this point like not being violent. I think you're doing the exact opposite of what like we talked about, Peter. Like that thing, like Peter, you're getting a little worked up, a little too intense for me. I think you like need to tone it down a little bit. I'm gonna put this dude's ear back on, but you need to chill, okay? Like, John, can you get Peter real quick for me? He's being a little crazy. You see, Peter is this guy, he's trying to prove his loyalty to Jesus. He wants everybody to know how loyal he is to Jesus. But in this act of loyalty, we're going to see that Peter does something very disloyal to Jesus. He ends up being extremely disloyal to Jesus. You see, but Peter's this big talker, small walker. He's this guy, he wants everybody to know who his boy is. But when push comes to shove, he kind of quiets down. You see, after this, they're having a dinner. Peter comes to Jesus and he's like, man, I love you so much. Like, this is amazing. Like, man, you're my boy. Like, Jesus, I love you. Jesus, you're amazing. Like, you're my dog. Like, we homies. Like, can I get a pic real quick and post it on the gram? Like, I gotta let people know. And Jesus comes to him and he's like, hey, listen, Peter, there's this thing. And Peter's like, yeah. Okay, oh, you got something for me? What's my future look like? Jesus is like, well, okay. Here's your future, Peter. You're going to, and Peter's like, yeah, what am I going to do? Am I going to like defend you, Jesus? What do I got for you, boy? Like, yeah, I got you. You're my dog. And Jesus is like, well, you're actually going to deny me. You're going to deny knowing me. You're actually going to ignore that we even have this friendship, whatever you call it. And you're going to do it 3 different times. And you could imagine that Peter is frustrated. Peter is angry. Peter is like starstruck by this comment. Because how would you like it if your friend came to you and said, you're going to be disloyal to me? You would be like, gasp. I would never be disloyal to you, Ryan. I am your friend. Like, I love you so much. Why would you say that? And sure enough, as Jesus is trialed, as he's murdered on the cross and buried, sure enough, in this time, Peter denies Jesus 3 different times. He's confronted with 3 different situations of saying, hey, don't you know Jesus? And he's like, me? No, that's Matthew Gilley. No, that's not me. I don't know Jesus. Hey, aren't you that friend with Jesus? No. That's Addison Ford. That's not me. I am not that guy. That is, nope. I'm just smoking a cigarette over here. That's not me. And he does it again and again and again. On 3 separate occasions, Peter denies his friendship with Jesus. And so Easter happens, the tomb is empty, and Jesus is alive. Now, for everybody, this is a celebratory thing. This is something where as Mary sees Jesus, she's excited. As John sees Jesus, he's excited. They are ready. They are at peace. They are so ready for Jesus to come back and have conversations with them. But you know those moments when you get in trouble with your mom and she's like, your father will deal with this when he gets home. And you're like, no, I kind of hope my dad never comes home ever again, kind of thing. That's how Peter is feeling. Peter is like, you know what, Jesus, I need a little more time. Like, you called me out on something and go to Jamaica, go on to Hawaii or something. You can travel the world. You've only been here in the Middle East and there's not much here. Jesus, go explore. I need some time to work on myself before I can be confronted with you. You see, Peter thinks he's going to be ridiculed by Jesus. He thinks that Jesus is going to come to him and roast him for what he did, call him out on his wrong. And he feels like he needs to get himself right before he can ever have a conversation with Jesus. And just like you might be sitting here tonight feeling like you have to get your life right with God, something miraculous happens when Jesus confronts Peter. You see, in John 21:15-17, Jesus goes out to breakfast with Peter and they have this conversation. It says, after breakfast, Jesus said to Peter, Peter, son of John, do you love me more than these people? Do you love me more than anything? He says, yeah, Jesus, you know I love you. Like, you know I love you, right? Like, I'm waiting for this moment. You know I love you. And Jesus said, feed my lambs. Who are lambs? Does he actually mean lambs? No, he's actually talking about the people. Jesus considers himself a shepherd, a caretaker, a lover of people. He cares for people. And so he tells Peter, I need you to take care and feed the homeless, feed the unloved, care for the people, care for them. And Jesus asks Peter a second time. He says, Peter, son of John, do you love me? At this point, dude, Peter is just like, yeah, Jesus, you know that I love you. Like, have I not proven it? Like, maybe I'm realizing, maybe now you don't realize that I denied you 3 times. But yes, Jesus, I love you. And Jesus said, shepherd my sheep. Take care of my people. And then he said it a third time. Peter, son of John, do you love me? Peter was upset, obviously. I'd be pretty upset too if Amanda came to me and was like, do you love me? And I was like, yes. And she said it again and again. I'd be like, babe, if I'm saying yes, I mean yes. You know what I'm saying? I didn't say I do for no reason, you know? And Peter was upset and he asked for the third time, do you love me? So Peter answered, Master, you know everything there is to know. You've got to know at this point. You've got to know. I'm saying it for a third time. You've got to know that I love you. And Jesus looks at Peter and says, shepherd my sheep. Lead my people. Care for the people around you for the sake of loving me. You see, Peter denied knowing Jesus 3 times, and yet Jesus still asked him to lead, to love, and care for his people. Peter held on to this guilt that was telling him to quiet down, and Jesus was lovingly, caringly trying to give that guilt away. He was trying to free Peter from this guilt. Jesus didn't hold anything against Peter because of the grace he had for Peter. And it was in this very moment, as he realized he wasn't ridiculed, he wasn't shamed, he wasn't talked out of being a leader, Jesus was willing to give away the shame and the guilt. And it was because of the grace that he had for him. Because of grace, Peter was no longer controlled by guilt. Because of grace, Peter accepted the love that Jesus had for him. And it was because of grace that so miraculously changed Peter's life that he was willing to go around and share the love of Jesus that Jesus showed him. In this very moment, when Peter thought he was going to be ridiculed, when he thought he had to get his life right with God, when he felt like he had to have everything in a certain path and order, when he felt like he had to be ready to come to church and talk to God and have everything right and tell people what's going on, he allowed guilt to tell him to quiet down. But it was because of the resurrection that Peter knew more than anything that he was forgiven. I don't know what's causing guilt tonight for you. I don't know what you've done. I don't know what you've said. I don't know what you've thought. I don't know what kind of guilt you're walking in here tonight with. But I want you to know more than anything that I assure you that guilt is nothing compared to the love and forgiveness and grace that God has for you. There is not one thing that can hold you back from a relationship with Jesus. There is not one thing that can hold you back from the love God has for you. There is not one thing that you can carry that says God doesn't love you, because he loves you, he created you, he cared for you. You see, guilt is nothing compared to God's grace that he has for you. Guilt tells you to quiet down, but grace tells you there's freedom in speaking up. Because when you feel like you have to get your life right with God, when you feel like you're going to be ridiculed by God, Jesus comes into the picture, and Jesus didn't come to ridicule you. Jesus didn't come to shame you. Jesus didn't come to make you feel guilty for the things you've done. In fact, Jesus came to set you free from that guilt. That thing that you're holding on tonight that's controlling you and telling you to quiet down, Jesus came to say, I'm setting you free from that so you can speak up. I want you to know that your voice matters, that you are loved, that you are cared for. There's not one thing that can hold me back from the love that I have for you. You may have questions, you may have concerns. I am willing to do this journey with you because God created you, He loves you, He cares for you, and He's forgiven you. You see, Jesus is here to set you free from the guilt. Jesus is here to love you no matter what you've done. You see, it was because of the death, the burial, and the resurrection that we ought to know that we are loved, we are cared for, we are adored, and we are all forgiven. You don't need to walk in here anymore with that guilt. You don't need to walk in here with that shame, that thing that feels like it's holding you back from having a relationship with God, that thing that you feel like you can't share with other people. I want you to know right now that you can let that go because Jesus isn't concerned about it. Jesus isn't worried about it. Jesus desires to love you, care for you, and He's already forgiven you. It's because of the resurrection that we now know that we are forgiven. Let's pray. God, I want to thank you for getting us here tonight. I want to thank you for giving us an opportunity to connect with you. God, I just pray that as we walk in with this shame, as we walk in with this guilt, whether you're viewing online, whether you're here in the room, you may be feeling like you have shame, you have guilt, and you feel like you can't communicate with God until you get things right. God, I pray that you break that mold, you break that thought, that they can break down and talk to you. That this guilt that's telling them to quiet down, you destroyed that and gave us freedom in speaking up, talking to the people around us, opening up about the things that go on in our life so that you can begin to restore us. You can begin to heal us. God, we're so thankful because Lord knows that I don't deserve to be forgiven, but yet here I am. And everybody in this room has that same thing going for them, that you forgave them as much as you've forgiven everybody else. God, we love you. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Hey, we love you guys, and you are ready to break off to small groups. We'll see you next week.